This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Reacting to a disaster. What would Jesus do? Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers, a regular Wednesday feature during the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Good to have you here. A little bit different Real Answers this time around, since part of the focus is on something that is capturing news headlines as we speak, Hurricane Melissa bearing down on the island nation of Jamaica. And we should begin here with some background, Chris, since listeners probably don't know that you have some very deep ties to ministry efforts in Jamaica. Tell us about that.
I do, Mark. Back in '93, when I was still in college, I took a missions trip to the island of Jamaica, and that immediately set my heart on a course that would eventually lead me to living there. Did a lot of work in a very small community in the south central part of the island. And so as you can imagine, Mark, right now I am keeping my eyes on what's going to be happening down there because it's a difficult situation. It's very difficult to watch. I've just got so many loved ones that both Jamaican and American actually that are down there right now.
By and large, people who might have been to Jamaica probably saw the pretty side. You know, you used to go to the resorts, some of them are walled in, and don't really see the part of the country that you saw during the bulk of your ministry time there.
That's right. And a lot of times when people do take vacations to these island nations or Central American or Mexico resort areas, you're right, they stay in these walled off, gated off communities or in these big resorts that do not give them a real accurate picture, a real accurate experience of what life is like there. And you're absolutely right. You see a completely different side of life once you get out of those resort areas and get into the interior and the heart of the nations. The people are going to be facing a very, very difficult situation, particularly on the western side of the island, not too far actually from a ministry that has its roots right here in our listening area. Don and Elaine Schiffer, if I could give them a shout out. They're the ones that are part of the Follow the Source and actually headed up Follow the Source Discipleship Training Center right in southern St. Elizabeth. You know, a lot of folks don't have structures that are really able to sustain a Category 5 hurricane direct hit.
Yeah,
so
for
it is
sure.
very much a very tenuous situation.
Yeah. The resort hotels, are one thing, but the ramshackle places with the corrugated tin roofs, they're just not going to stand up to this. So with that background, we move to the other focus of today's discussion, which is reacting to a disaster and reaching out to those affected. While we don't know the extent, will no doubt be significant. And traditionally, America has been among the nations quickest to help other countries in need. But I guess there's a question out there whether that dynamic is changing.
It has, I believe. And sadly, I think that more and more people are much more concerned about helping out folks at home as opposed to other nations. Now, I'm not against that. I'm not against helping out our own folks. Of course, I'm not. But at the same time, with such a tight connection that I've had since 1993, honestly, it makes it harder for me to restrict my views to I'm just going to help out folks in my own backyard. We really are a blessed nation, and we have the ability to help out folks in other nations as well, especially in nations like Jamaica that they don't have the resources that we have. There are so many really good ways that we can give these days. Organizations that are solid Christian organizations like Samaritan's Purse and another ministry that's actually based in our listening area as well. It's One by One Jamaica, and they do an amazing work not too far away from Don and Elaine Schiffer there that I was just telling you about. And quite honestly, we have the resources to help out our folks in our backyard as well as folks in other areas of the world that need our assistance as well.
You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson, today talking about the hurricane impact of Jamaica and people helping here in the States. I wonder if this maybe underscores the value of going on a missions trip for Americans. After I took my first one, you just get a different perspective globally, and I think there's a lot of value in that.
There is a lot of value, and of course we have to be very careful too when we do go on a missions trip, simply because we want to make sure that we, believe it or not, aren't adding to the problem. And that can actually happen if a ministry isn't careful. While their efforts and their hearts are in the right places, if they're not careful, it might actually make certain problems worse. But right now, in the next few days, please look for links. Samaritan's Purse will probably be there. Look for ways of donating specifically to humanitarian efforts to get the supplies down, because much of Jamaica is very mountainous, and much of the area, even when the weather's good, the roads are not in great shape. If you're traveling from Montego Bay on the northwestern side of the island, let's say down to Kingston on the southwestern side, if you go across the island, you're going to be going through some mountain passes. There are a few highways now on the island that make it a little easier to get around, but a lot of times you're on these mountain roads that wash out very easily, even in a typical tropical downpour, not to mention a hurricane.
For sure. We live in I guess you could call it an America First era at the moment. But from a Christian perspective, reaching out to help those in need should be second nature, even if they're people we don't know and who aren't our next door neighbors.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, Mark, we are a blessed nation and we are blessed for a purpose. The resources we have are not ours to use exclusively for ourselves. That really is a selfish way to look at it. There is enough to go around. We just have to be willing. And I would challenge folks, too, that with this disaster, as well as others, as a matter of fact, Western North Carolina is still trying to recover after a year of when Hurricane Helene went through and dumped copious amounts of rain and high winds in that area. They're still trying to recover too. So I'm going to put a charge out there to all of our listeners. If you're listening to this right now, to scale back on your holiday spending and be willing to help with these efforts to rescue folks as well as provide for just the basic life necessities and helping to get these communities back up, whether you decide to help out still with the efforts in Eastern North Carolina or send it, with an organization to Jamaica, wherever you decide to help. I think the bigger lesson is your children are going to benefit from having a real solid conversation about why maybe they're not going to have quite as much under the Christmas tree Christmas morning or however you choose to do that. But honestly, that's a life lesson, and that's something that will go a long way in the future for your kids too.
Well put, Chris. Well, we'll certainly be keeping those in Jamaica and the other nearby islands in our prayers and hopefully in our actions as well. You've been listening to Real Answers, a Wednesday feature of the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues important to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thanks again, Chris.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.